the next gland. What is the next gland? The next endocrine gland that we are studying would be adrenal. Check the volume. Check the volume. The next gland is adrenal gland, right? Let us see first of all the location of the adrenal gland. What is the location of the adrenal gland? That is by finding out. The adrenal gland is located with the kidneys. So, what is the location of the adrenal gland? You have to remember. See here, when we talk about the adrenal gland, this is the location. This is how the adrenal gland is always present on the top of the kidneys. So, location of the adrenal gland always to right. The adrenal gland located way always on the top of the kidneys. And exactly like the kidneys, when we talk about the location of this gland, top of the kidneys. किसका फोन है?
हमारा फोन malfunction करता है.
हमारा malfunction चल रहा है ना? Definitely. Now, top of the kidneys, when we are talking about the location of the adrenal gland. Now, see there, when we talk there. Now, when we talk about the section of the adrenal gland, say like that of the kidneys also. If you remember, when we had studied about the section of the kidney, that time we had come across kidney has two major parts, the cortex and the medulla. Same that way, the adrenal gland also has got two major parts, cortex and the medulla. Now, same like this gland, same like this organ, the kidney, the adrenal also has got two major regions. The outer region that you can see, that is known as the cortex, and the inner region is known as the medulla. The type of cells are different, hence the hormones are also different. Now, first is the location. What about the structure? Only little bit to understand the structure of the adrenal gland. What is the structure of the adrenal gland? It is a triangular gland. It is a triangular gland and has two regions. What are the two regions that it has? The outer cortex. The outer cortex and the inner medulla. The outer cortex and the inner medulla. Go to that bench. Last one. Apna book le lo and go there. So the two regions of the adrenal gland, to understand, it has got two regions. One is the cortex and the other is the medulla. Now we are studying only one hormone, that is the adrenal gland. The adrenal medulla, only one particular hormone we are going to study from the cortex and the medulla. There are a large number of hormones. Let us study only one. From the cortex region to study the outer region, that is the cortex. What is the type of hormone that is being produced? The cortex produces hormones known as corticoids. Cortex, the outer region, produces hormones known as the corticoids. So let us come across this. The hormones of the adrenal gland. The hormones of the adrenal gland, the outer region that we come across, the outer region releases hormone known as the corticoids. What is the function of these corticoids? Major function is the metabolism of only one function to remember. See that you read properly and write. Metabolism of carbohydrate, almost the same like thyroxine basal metabolism that we had written. Metabolism of carbohydrates, proteins and fats. That is the function for corticoids. What about the other side? Medulla. Adrenal, two specific regions. Now we talk about the hormones of the medulla. What about the hormones of the medulla? The hormones of the medulla, the major hormone that we talk about is epinephrine, also known as adrenaline. What is the function of adrenaline? Adrenaline is also known as the emergency hormone. It is known as the emergency hormone. What is the reason? It is known as emergency hormone. Controls or regulates the body functions. Regulates the body functions during severe stress. Now, what is the meaning of stress? Let us try understanding. What is the function that you will write down? What type of hormone does the medulla release? Adrenaline. Most common word is this one. Adrenaline. So you can write this. Epinephrine is the other alternative word. What is the hormone produced by adrenal medulla? Adrenaline. When is it released? What type of function? Adrenaline brings about a whole lot of functions in the body to help body fight against various stresses. Now, what are those stresses? We try to understand. The word stress here refers to what? The word stress here refers to three conditions, that is fight, refers to three conditions, that is fight, then flight and fright. That is the reason the adrenaline is also known as hormone of 3Fs. Adrenaline is also known as the hormone of 3Fs. Why? It is produced only when we are angry, arguing with somebody, or we are into an aggression. At the time, adrenaline secretion is more in our body. What are some features or what are some changes at that time? The blood supply is more to the skin. The heartbeat is increasing. Heartbeat, blood pressure, breathing rate, muscle contraction. The same thing happens when we are in a situation of flight. What is the meaning of flight here? Flight. Excitement, not actually. Excitement here would mean flight is a situation where we are caught up in a situation and we want to escape from that. Maybe you are traveling by lift to the 10th floor and suddenly you get to see that the lift is not working, you are locked up. So there's a panic situation. At that time, adrenaline is produced, breathing rate increases, muscle contraction becomes much faster. The muscle starts developing more energy than regular and we try banging the door, etc., etc. Many situations like that. So suppose we also talk about certain more situations like when you are, maybe now you are caught up in some regions, maybe now you are being chased or you are walking in the road and you come across that there's a pothole and you have by mistake put in your feet there. So certain situations, we are in the swimming pool and sometimes we feel that we are almost getting drowned, and at this time, what happens? We struggle with the maximum amount of force in our muscles. We struggle to come to the surface of the water to survive. At that type of a situation, what is happening? The second condition, that is what I'm talking about, flight, where whenever there is a dangerous situation, we are caught up and we want to escape and somehow we want to survive. That type of a situation, adrenaline secretion is again quite high. At this time also, the muscle strength is so much as compared to normal. Muscle strength is so much, the heartbeat, the breathing rate, etc., everything becomes high. So at that time, in all these situations, adrenaline takes care of all these processes of our body for a short period of time. Fright. What is the meaning of fright? You already understand. Whenever we are scared of something, we are extremely terrorized about something, we are very scared of something, at that time, again, there will be adrenaline rush. Meaning, at that time also, the breathing rate and the heartbeat and the muscle contraction and the blood supply to the skin, everything becomes much higher for a short period of time. So in each of the situations, I may say fight when we are extremely angry, when we are extremely happy, both the situations. Flight, we want to escape from any situation. Fright, we are very much tense or terrorized, and in any of the situations, the adrenaline tackles all the bodily functions for a short period of time. That is what is the stressed condition of the body. Hence, it is known as the emergency hormone. Now that we are not under stress, we are not into an argument, neither we want to escape from this situation. So, is the adrenaline secretion very high in our blood right now? No, the secretion of adrenaline is not very high in our blood. It is found lesser than its regular amount actually now in the blood. But the moment we are facing any of these situations, the level of secretion will be much higher. So that is the job of adrenaline, and this only one function to study for you, the corticoids released by the cortex and what major function. Next we talk about the reproductive organs, the testes and the ovary, the testes in the male body and the ovary in the female body. We now just introduce this concept of the reproductive organs as a part of this chapter. Otherwise, this is a complete chapter that later again we are going to come across, but that time also I will ask you the functions of these glands again remains the same, so you should be able to remember them. We talk about the testes, the first organ, the first gland. It's a reproductive organ plus it is an endocrine gland also. So we talk about the testes, the first organ. What about the location? The location is present in the male body. It is present in the male body outside the abdomen. Present in the male body outside the abdomen. So that is the location. Structure. Now basic structure of the gland, the basic structure of the testes. To understand the testes is oval lobe structure consisting of the male reproductive cells. Consisting of male reproductive cells, and it has got specialized cells for releasing hormones. Those names you don't have to study now. We talk about the hormones now. Important hormones of the male and the female reproductive organ. Let us study the major hormone of the male reproductive organ, that is testis. What is the name of this hormone? Testosterone. We talk about the name of this hormone, testosterone. Testosterone, we have to remember three major functions of this hormone. Let us write down what are the three major functions of this hormone. Testosterone, the major hormone of the testes. The structure, the parts, we have to study later in this chapter, no need, only the names of the hormone. So now we talk about the functions. What are the three major functions to remember? Number one, it helps in the development and maturation of, the reproductive organs, development and maturation of the reproductive organs in the male body. In the male body. All of you will write these points. No talking. The entire 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever, they will be constantly doing something. All these points you should write, and later when I ask you something promptly, you should answer something. I ask A, they will say Z. Now, development and maturation of reproductive organs. So that is the first function. We are talking about testosterone, what type of function it does on the male body. Second function is the development and maturation of the secondary sexual characters. The secondary sexual characters. Now, what is the meaning of secondary sexual characters? These are the typical male and the female characteristics because of the hormones. Since the male body has testosterone, the male body has profuse body hair. Since the male body has testosterone, the male body has mustache, beard. Since the male body has testosterone, the male body is supposed to have the wider hip, the wider shoulder and the narrow hip. Since the male body has testosterone, the male body is supposed to have voice which is heavy and hoarse. So if I talk about these characteristics, is it determining the male body when I say profuse hair and beard and mustache and wider shoulder? Yes, it determines, it describes a male body. Contrast when I talk about the female body also, because of the hormone, those features. We learn that also. So in case, instead of testosterone, when I write the female hormones, then the characteristics of the female body will be different. If I write testosterone instead of testosterone, estrogen, then the features will be scanty body hair, shrill voice, narrower shoulder and wider hip. So based on what hormones we have in our body are bodily features. So this bodily features that we have in the male and the female body, which clearly distinguishes a male from a female, उसको बोलेंगे secondary sexual characters. Clear है? So what are secondary sexual characters? In the next chapter you are asked. So we will talk about that in detail later again. But now since we are writing the points, you should understand what you are writing. The third point is formation of the male gametes. Formation of male gametes. What are male gametes known as? The male gametes are known as the sperms. So for males, these are the points to write down. So what did we talk about? The testes, the male reproductive organ, its location, majorly to understand, and 3 major functions. Okay. Now the contrast is, I talk about the ovary. Check where the changes. I talk about the ovary. What is the location? The location is, it is present in the female body, in the abdomen or inside the abdomen. It is inside the abdomen, that is a difference. I said outside the abdomen, and in case of the ovary, inside the abdomen. That's a difference. Structure, oval, lobulated, that remains the same. Consisting of female reproductive cells. That's the same concept. Consisting of female reproductive cells. I'm talking about ovary. What about the hormones? If it is male, we study testosterone. What about the female hormones then? The female hormones are estrogen and progesterone. 2 hormones. Estrogen and progesterone. Estrogen, this is one spelling. The other spelling also can be OES. That is also correct. So instead of ES, OESTROGEN, that also you can write. Not a problem. Estrogen, ESTRO, that's most commonly used. Estrogen and progesterone. These are the female hormones. Released by which gland? Estrogen and progesterone is released by which gland? Which part of the body? The ovary. The ovary. Now, the functions are exactly the same. Where are the modifications to be made? Development and maturation of the reproductive organs in the female body, only that's to be added. Development and maturation of the secondary sexual characteristics in the female body, that is understood. Formation of the female gametes. Formation of the female gametes. What is the female gamete? Known as ovum. All of you will write down this point separately again. All of you. I'll give you time. Write down this. Because this is a repeat again in that chapter, reproduction. That time I will just ask you. You should all have this written with you. This is just a overlapping topic in that chapter. Functions of testosterone, functions of estrogen, progesterone. You write down this. For the female, only one function to write extra. पहले टेस्टोस्टेरोन के 3 फंक्शंस लिखो, उसके बाद एस्ट्रोजन प्रोजेस्टेरोन के 3 फंक्शंस अलग लिखो. आया समझ में? Once you are done with this, for the female, there you write, for the female, there are 4 functions, one more function to add. For females, only one more function to add, since we are learning functions of the hormones, only one last function to add there.
That's the last chapter, last part.
Of the chapter, just 5 plant hormones only to study. That is just one function. We'll complete this today. Control coordination, the nervous impulse, conduction, those parts, go through properly, read properly. If there's a doubt, clarify. Then the next part that we studied was about the brain, nervous system in human we studied. What is the meaning of CNS, PNS, what are its parts, what are its functions, all these things you should be clear. Functions about the 5 major parts of the brain. What was the function of cerebellum? What was the function of medulla? You should know. Will be asked.
Now, there's something to add in this chapter. Consider what is the entire chapter.
This part, the last part. So, were there questions from this side?
I couldn't give it.
What questions were there?
The reflex section was going to be hormones, thyroid and
Thyroid was there.
About the CNS, from where is reflex actually controlled from?
Did you answer anything from that part?
I answered the first reflex action. Then 2 to 3 questions at the other end.
You applied for that test? The last test? No? You also?
Actually, I thought that it would be like life cycle, how we had 2 parts.
Why? But then this was the portion was there, no? The test schedule portion also is shown.
So I thought only the first part would be there, which you would have thought. But then I saw that the whole chapter was.
If you have the paper with you, you can solve again.
Not now.
Acha, you can try solving again. And if at all something is there, then you can bring it to the notice of the coordinator. Next time. Next time. Okay. So done. Now the fourth point you write down. Let us finish with this topic. Fourth point you write. We are writing functions of estrogen, progesterone. 3 points here. And the fourth point you write down. Maintenance of. That's the fourth point. Additional only for the female hormones. Maintenance of pregnancy. Maintenance of pregnancy and childbirth. That is controlled by progesterone. Maintenance of pregnancy and childbirth. Okay. Now, with reference to hormones in a plant. With reference to hormones in a plant, now are the hormones in a plant as elaborate in different types as we talk about in human? No, the type of hormones that we come across in the plant tissues are not as many types that we come across in case of just get acquainted with some names first of all. Now these names are absolutely new for you. We are going to come across some names and just one function, nothing much. Now, when I talk about the hormones in case of the plants, what are the types of hormones in case of plants? The type of hormones in case of plants would be, what type of function would they generally show? The type of functions that they generally show would be strictly show in a just the names first of all. What are the names? And now that we are talking about the type of plant hormones. Now, how are the plant hormones different from the animal hormones, human hormones that we have studied? I talk about a plant. Does it respond to hormones exactly what we have studied? No, it is different. That concept is also known as chemical coordination. But in case of hormones for a plant, number one, they are specifically known as phytohormones. They are specifically known as phytohormones. What are hormones of the plants known as phytohormones? What type of functions does the phytohormone bring about in a plant? Number one, growth. Number two, metabolism, not much. Metabolism, because plant metabolism is comparatively simpler. So few hormones that we are going to study, we are majorly studying hormones which bring about growth, just few concepts of metabolism. Now, how are the hormones traveling in a plant? In the animal, in the human, we have studied they travel by the way of the blood. How about in a plant? In case of a plant, the hormones are produced in specific tissues and surrounding those tissues only the function would be carried out. Because they have no specific body fluid by the way of which they can travel different parts of the plant. So for a plant, hormones are produced at one region, maybe for a particular embryo, for a particular stem, for a particular bud. Wherever the hormone is produced, more or less that particular region, the function is carried out. So that is the concept of hormones. Next is, when we are talking about the phytohormones, what type of functions do they bring about? I just now mentioned that since they are not carried out long distances, majorly the type of growth. What type of growth? Allowing the plant grow tall. Allowing the plant show side branches. Allowing the plant show its rooting system. Allowing the plant grow the fruit and the flower. Certain type of hormones are in the gaseous form also. That is one exception, which we have never come across for animals. No hormones are in the gaseous form. In case of plants, we come across that some hormones are in the gaseous form also, which help in the maturation processes. Let us talk about those 5 important hormones in case of plants and their functions one by one. So, what are phytohormones? Write down the definition. What are phytohormones? First, we will start with the definition of phytohormones. Write down. Phytohormones, what are they? Special chemical substances. Special chemical substances released by plant tissues. Special chemical substances released by plant tissues which bring about growth and metabolism, which bring about growth and metabolism in different plant parts, which bring about growth and metabolism in different plant parts. Okay, so now let us try understanding what is the role of hormones. Let us talk about the role of hormones. The first concept that we understand would be the role of hormones. When we start understanding the role of hormones would be how would hormones affect the process of growth. The first hormone, let us start with, is oxygen. The first hormone is known as oxygen. Oxygen is one specific hormone which always acts on the tip of the shoot or the tip of the root of a plant. So whenever I am talking about any particular plant, this is a young plant, for example. This plant has got just few roots. Where will the oxygen act on? The oxygen will always act on the tip of these shoot. The concentration of oxygen will be maximum here at the tip of the shoot, and it will allow the process of growth. Also, the concentration of oxygen will be maximum at the tip of the root, and it will bring about growth. But typically we understand growth is always by the division pattern. Yes or no? Division of cells and then growth. Oxygen does not bring about cell division. Rather, oxygen brings about elongation of a cell. Every cell, the oxygen will always act on the cells, the cell wall part of it, and try elongating the cell and making it longer and longer and longer. That is the job of oxygen. So what are you supposed to write down? What is the job of oxygen? Where does it act? It acts on the shoot tip. It acts on the root tip. Brings about the growth of the shoot, of the root by cell elongation. Never by the method of division. For division, there is another hormone that we are going to talk about. So by cell elongation. So what are we going to write down? Oxygen acts on the root and shoot tip, acts on the shoot and the root tip, brings or helps, increases the height of the shoot, increases the height of the shoot and length of the root by cell elongation. Never a concept of division is brought about by oxygen. Always to write. Clear? So now later I will show also that how the bending of the plant parts. So that also is a little bit on phototropism and all. So now when we are talking about the concept of oxygen, Let us take the next one. Oxygen. Apart from oxygen, we are studying the next one, that is gibberellins. Gibberellins or gibberellic acid, that's the second hormone of the plant. Gibberellins or the gibberellic acid, that is the second hormone of the plant. Where does this hormone act on? This hormone generally acts on the stem and the root. This hormone generally acts on the stem and root. Then what does it do? It increases the diameter, makes the stem, branches, root broader day by day. So it acts on the stem and the root and increases what? Increases the girth of the stem. Increases the girth of the stem and branches. What is the meaning of girth? The meaning of girth is increasing the diameter. Increasing the diameter. That is the meaning of girth. Next is, we have got the cytokinins, the third hormone. We have got the cytokinin. What is the job of cytokinin? Where does it act on? It acts on the nodes, of the stem. Cytokinin, another type of a hormone. When I say nodes of the stem, what are you understanding? If this is one particular plant, after some 6 months later, what am I getting to see? That the stem has become broader. This was a small sapling that I have put in the soil. After 6 months, the stem has become broad. Which hormone is responsible? Gibberellins. Gibberellins will always make the stem broader, the branches broader, the roots broader and thicker. So now the roots are becoming broader and increasing. The stem is becoming broad. But now that the stem is becoming broad, it is giving rise to branches. So this particular region of the stem from where the branching has happened, this is known as the nodes. This particular region of the branch from where the leaf has developed, this is known as the node. What is the meaning of node? The region of the stem and the branch of the twig from where the growth happens. Meaning at this region the meristematic cells are maximum. We have studied meristematic cells helping past cell division. So I would say that the nodes, so I wrote here, see there, it generally acts on the nodes of the stem, the branches, the roots, etc. What does it bring about? Helps in the growth of the branches, the leaves, the flowers, etc. Helps in the growth of the branches, leaves, flowers, but by cell division. No more cell elongation, by cell division. Which hormone brings about cell division? Cytokinin brings about cell division and growth. Next, number 4 is abscisic acid. Abscisic acid. Where does it act on? It acts on stem, fruit, flower, leaf, etc. What does it do? It inhibits growth. I talk about a mango plant. Mango plant is growing. The plant has almost attained a height of 4.5 feet, 5 feet. Now the abscisic acid will start getting secreted at certain regions of the stem, the shoot, the leaf. The leaf is growing and ultimately it has attained its optimum size. After that, the growth of the leaf should stop. The fruit, the mango, small mango growing and developing, and it has attained a big size. Now, can the mango keep on growing and growing as big as a watermelon? No. The mango and the watermelon and the grape, why are they of variable size? Because they are of different species and the abscisic acid will get secreted at different times. So for the grape, abscisic acid is secreting much faster. For a mango, little bit later. For a watermelon, little bit more later, because different species they are. So what would be the effect of abscisic acid? Inhibits the growth of the plant parts after optimum growth is attained. After optimum growth is obtained, the plant has already achieved its optimum growth for the flower, hibiscus. It will keep on growing unless and until that big size is obtained. But what about that small jasmine? Will it also keep on growing like the jasmine, like the hibiscus? No. After a particular period of time, growth is over. So the type of hormone, that is of the abscisic acid always inhibits the process of growth in every plant, fruit, flower, leaf, once the optimum growth is done for that species, for that plant. The last hormone that we talk about is ethylene. Ethylene. It is the only hormone in gaseous state. It is the only hormone in the gaseous form, in the gaseous state. What is it meant for? What is its function? Maturation of the embryo, the seed, and the fruit. Maturation of the embryo, the seed, and ripening of the fruit. And ripening of fruit, it's a major hormone involved in the ripening of the fruit. So now that we talk about ethylene, ethylene is also a gaseous hormone used artificially. Now say we talk about this immature raw fruits which are plucked and then kept in sacks in those warehouses, and ethylene hormone has been injected there. Ethylene hormone is injected there. Ethylene hormone is introduced in some of those fruits which are raw now, not even ripe. But the farmer wants to market them as soon as possible. Don't we get certain fruits which appear ripe, but when we cut them, there is no taste. There is no flavor, no taste, meaning they have been artificially ripened with the help of ethylene injections, and this is very common nowadays. So in sacks of those fruits, whether we talk about banana, mangoes, very much mangoes, watermelon, what has been done? In some of them, this injection will be introduced, but since it is a gaseous type of a hormone, it will dissipate, spread, and the surrounding fruits also, they will also get ripened. So they look ripened, but the internal tissues are not ripe. The sugar content and the mineral content are not there. Only that they look ripe, they look yellowish, they look ripe. So that is the job of artificially when we talk about ripening, but naturally when we talk about the job of ethylene, this is what. So how many hormones for the plants we have studied? 5 hormones for the plants. What are the 5 hormones? Number 1 is oxygen. Remember the job of oxygen? Gibberellins, cytokinin, and ethylene. So 5 hormones and 5 types of actions there. The last topic that we have is tropic movements, tropism. Now this is a very simple concept, tropism. What is the meaning of tropism and tropic movements? Tropism, to understand, this is a type of a plant movement. I would say this is a type of a plant movement with respect to a stimulus. What is the meaning of the word stimulus? What is stimulus you have studied? Stimulus is any factor which can help. Stimulus is any factor which can help us to show a response, no? When we had learned stimulus for the neuron, what did we study? I am talking to you, I am dictating something, you are writing. So what is the stimulus? Their sound. Right? Somebody is calling you and you respond, look. What is the stimulus? Sound. You suddenly see a big flash of light and you close your eyes. What is the stimulus there? Light. Light is the stimulus and we respond. Similar way, if I talk about, does the plant respond to stimulus? Yes, the plants also respond to stimulus, but not in a very fine way like us, but they also respond to stimulus. How? I talk about some concepts of tropism. What are the concepts? What are the types we are going to study? The first is phototropism. First is phototropism. Second is geotropism. Third is hydrotropism. Hydrotropism. And then fourth is the thigmotropism. So these are the basic tropic movements. अब हर एक category में I want all of you to write down this and the respective stimulus also. तो phototropism में can you guess what is the stimulus? Light. Phototropism में stimulus and light. We are going to see how. Geotropism में क्या होगा? Stimulus. हाँ तो gravity हो गया stimulus. What is the stimulus you are asked? क्या लिखेंगे? Gravity. Gravitational force of the gravity. Hydrotropism में water. Hydrotropism में what is the stimulus that allows plant to show some response? Water. And thigmotropism में touch. Thigmotropism में touch. Okay. So if I talk about the concept of phototropism, I talk about the concept of phototropism. All of you had seen this concept, no? Talk about a plant. How does the plant grow? The plant is always bent towards the source of light. Yes or no? So many of you are, I think almost all of you must be having some plants in your balcony or windowsill. Have you noticed here? These plants are never coming towards your room. They are always bent outwards. Why? The source of light. So the plant is responding to the light, but इसके साथ-साथ is the plant growing also? The plant is growing. अब ये जो growth है, this growth is temporary or permanent? Permanent. अब जब I take this plant out, I have observed a plant for 2 months growing towards the source of light, sunlight. Now I want to see that what will happen to this plant when I take it inside the room. अब room के अंदर लेने के बाद I get to see अब जब that strong sunlight the plant is not getting, is the growth decreasing? Growth decrease हो रहा है? नहीं हो रहा है. The plant may dry, that's a different thing, but growth decrease नहीं हो रहा है. So we understand for phototropism or any type of tropic movement, growth will always be there. Growth permanent है and growth is irreversible है. Growth is always irreversible. Reversible नहीं होगा. The moment the source of light is not there and growth also not there, ऐसे कभी नहीं होगा. Growth is irreversible. So the first type that we were talking about is phototropism. The next class again I will talk about all these things. Not to worry, we will talk about all these few things and 1 or 2 more questions, few more to do from the volume, and then we'll move on to the next chapter. Genetics we are done, right? Genetics done. Our environment we are done.
Yes.
So we are left with only the last chapter. Okay. So we'll take this the next class. No, no.
लग जाते हैं लेकिन लग जाएंगे
सही में
लेकिन जाना है
कुछ गलत नहीं हुआ
बिल्कुल
क्या
यार करने की
बैग की चाबी दूंगी
हाँ बैठ
ये बाहर का सही में आ गया वो